Hey guys, I'd like to show you a simple but effective bedding project that can enhance your accuracy and the appearance of the rifle. It takes minimal effort and no special tools required. So we get asked the question, what is bedding and do I need it? Well, bedding is the process where we mix up an epoxy, which is a liquid, put it into the stock, and then we put the barreled action of the rifle into the stock to mold the exact shape of the metal into that stock. Bedding came about in the heyday of wooden stocks. Wood's soft, so we had to do something to stiffen it up, give it a little more strength. The epoxy in a wood stock would give that wood more strength from compression, meaning the guard screws turned too hard would compress the wood, and if that didn't compress the wood, then certainly the recoil from firing would. The epoxy eliminated all that in wood. While bedding the rifle may not turn your 3-inch rifle into a 1/2-inch tack driver, it's going to give it a much better chance to perform better than without bedding. We bed all of our rifles and all of our stock installations, and we recommend you do too. Pillars are another holdover from wood stock days. Adding epoxy with the pillars gives that stock a very uncompressible surface. It also holds that action in position and keeps it stable. Since our stocks aren't made out of wood, and they're made out of a reinforced epoxy, which is extremely uncompressible, pillars are not necessary when bedding our stocks. We offer our stocks 3 different ways. We offer a gunsmith fit, we offer a drop-in fit, and we also offer a complete installation. We're really going to discuss the first 2 today because if we are going to do a complete installation, then we're going to be the ones that are going to bed it. So first off, the gunsmith fit. That comes unfinished, and the gunsmith or you, if you're a do-it-yourselfer, can actually install that stock on your rifle. Now, depending on some of the components, some of the action clones on 700 Remingtons, etc., are different. You may have to do a little fitting. With our drop-in comes painted, padded, cut off to your length of pull. They fit very well and is available in several different models for your rifles. It's ready to go out of the box. So I have a sheep hunter stock for a 700 Remington, and I have a factory Remington 700 barreled action. You're going to need a bedding kit. We sell those on our website. You're also going to need a couple of supplies. You're going to need a few minor tools. Hey, this is a manageable project, well within your scope. However, if you do have any questions before, during, or after the process, please drop us a line, give us a call, send us an email, and we will be sure to get you sorted out. So let's get started. First thing I want to do is show you what you're going to need to get this accomplished, to get this stock installed on your barreled action. First thing is this Pro Bed Kit 2000. It's a 1 rifle kit, works excellent. To do what we're doing today, you can probably do 3 or 4 rifles with what we have. Comes with the resin, the hardener, comes with a release agent, a couple of brushes, some clay, and some mixing sticks. It's a 1-to-1 mix, so it's extremely easy to use. It's black in color, very good product. The other things that come in, obviously you're going to need some screwdrivers or drivers, some masking tape, some Q-tips, some water, and some lacquer thinner, an X-Acto knife. We've got our torque wrench here, and we got our rubber gloves so that we can put those on while we're mixing the epoxy. Okay, this is a Remington 700 factory barreled action. We're going to assemble it before doing any work to it. Put the magazine box in there, slide the stock, push it forward so the recoil lug's touching. Put in your trigger guard assembly, put in your screws, and then just snug them up. Okay, guard screws are in. Check it out. We're going to look at how the action fits into the stock, how the gap along the barrel is in the barrel channel of the stock. This can be an issue sometimes because we can't guarantee that the action threads are straight, etc. So it could point to one side or the other. In some cases, that can be adjusted when we are putting the barreled action together, which I'll demonstrate. The other thing I like to do is I like to put the bolt in the rifle to make sure that the bolt handle clears. So we do that. If the bolt doesn't go down, sometimes the front guard screw may be a little long and you have to trim that off. But for the most part, these stocks fit extremely well as is. And now disassembled. Okay, you're not going to need the mag box for this, so set that aside. In some cases, I typically disassemble the whole barreled action. I take the trigger off, any parts that are on it. However, in this case, doing a spot bid, which is going to be up front, it's not necessary to remove the trigger or any of the bolt stops or bolt release parts. What we're going to do is we're going to take a Q-tip, put a little lacquer thinner or solvent on there, and we're going to wipe out the mortise for the recoil lug, the slot that's in the stock where the recoil lug fits. So now the stock is ready to go. So we're going to start prepping the metal. What I like to do is I like to degrease the recoil lug so the tape sticks. Now, real important is that you are going to tape the front and the sides and the bottom of this recoil lug. We want the rear to have 100% contact with the bedding compound. We want a little clearance on the front, the sides, and the bottom. So I'm going to take a single piece of, I like the blue painter's tape. You can use whatever color you like. Now this tape is 3/1000 thick, so we are not going to have a lot of clearance, but it's enough clearance to allow for this barreled action to be, once you take it out tomorrow after it's cured, take off the tape, it'll fit right back in that stock without needing a hammer to do so. Really like to leave a little clearance. The other thing you need to do to accomplish this is an X-Acto knife. Now, if you don't have one, borrow one. And if you need to borrow one, go buy a new blade, because sharp is where it's at here. You need sharp. So we're going to trim the masking tape. So now I have the front and the sides done. Fold it down, cover the bottom. Okay, there you have it. That's the only thing you need that X-Acto knife for, but it comes in super handy. So we've got the bottom, the sides, and the front of the recoil lug taped up for clearance. Okay, next step, probably one of the most important, is to make sure we apply release agent to any of the areas of the metal that we don't want to stick. Release agent comes in this little silver in the kit, and basically it's a wax. Comes with this handy little brush. What you do is you cover everything around within an inch or so of that recoil lug. I'm going to do right back to the guard screw, go up around the sides of the receiver, do the barrel, do the recoil lug for sure, front, everything, sides, bottom. Make sure it's in every little nook and cranny. The brush helps. Now, this is wax, so it can be buffed afterwards, which is a good idea. So we'll let that wax cure or dry on the surface. You can never use enough release agent in my opinion, so I'm going to put a little bit on the threads just in case. It's only insurance, which I like. So now we'll let that dry, and then I'll wipe it off, buff it off a little bit with the paper towel. Next step is to mix up the epoxy. Okay, so we have the resin and the hardener. Remember I said this is a 1-to-1 mixture. We really don't need a lot of this. Like a teaspoon is probably going to be plenty. Actually, yeah, a teaspoon is going to be plenty. Now, one thing you don't want to do is take that same popsicle stick and shove it from the resin into the hardener. You're going to need 2 sticks. So that's resin down there. This is white. This is the hardener. So we put the same amount on the pad. And this is not very, very critical. So if they look similar amounts, you're fine. I'm going to mix this epoxy up, the bedding compound. Mix it thoroughly. I mean, This takes a long time to cure, like 7 or 8 hours. So you have plenty of time to work with it. Some epoxies obviously have less time, but this, in normal indoor conditions, i.e. temperatures 65 to 80 degrees, you're fine. The hotter it is, the faster it kicks. Now, really, you still have plenty of time. Now that the resin's mixed, I'm going to take my paper towel. I'm going to just lightly buff off the wax. All right, now it's time to apply the bedding compound to both the stock, and I apply a little bit to the back of the recoil lug on the barreled action. So how much do you put in there? Well, this is probably about a third or less of what I've got here is going to go in this spot. Put it down in the mortise. Just make sure you've got plenty of, it's kind of distributed evenly in the mortise, and primarily to the back where it's going to sit against. So I'm going to put it on the back of the recoil lug so that I don't have any air pockets. You can also see that there's a little bit running up into the barrel channel, which is one of the reasons I put release agent on there. So I'm going to take a little paper towel and remove some of that resin that got in the barrel channel. I don't want it there. Okay, I'm going to flip the stock over, put it onto the barrel action, push down on it, and then I'm going to install the trigger guard and the screws. I'm going to again pull front on the barrel action, take your trigger guard, put it in place, put your screws in. Now I'm going to use my fix-it stick torque wrench so that I get these torqued up to the right specs that they're going to be when it's finished. Once it's cured, they're going to get torqued to the same spec, which we're using 45 inch-pounds on this stock. Now, one thing I do is I like to torque the front one first and then go to the rear. So this has a little clicker on it. There we go. Now we're going to flip it over, see if any epoxy has leaked out or started to push up through the barreled action and around the stock. And we got lucky and put just the right amount in there because we have nothing coming out around there. If you do have a little bit of residue or a little bit of the epoxy coming up here, you can take a Q-tip, you can take a little squeegee or something and squeegee it off, then take a Q-tip dipped in water and just run along the sides right into the groove to get rid of it. And make sure you get rid of all of it. Now, we did come up along the sides of the metal with the release agent, so the epoxy is not going to stick to the metal. It will, however, stick to the stock, so you want to get it off the stock. The other thing you want to check out now is you want to make sure that your barrel is in the center of the barrel channel. If not, you can loosen up the guard screws and then tweak this one way or the other to try and get it down the middle. Now, on Remington 700s, since they're round, this is a little more difficult to do. So we have gone to great pains to make sure that the barreled actions sit in there straight. So there you have it, a spot bedding job on one of our drop-in 700 sheep hunters with a factory Remington 700 barreled action. You're going to let it cure overnight, and then we'll disassemble, pull it out, clean off the action, remove that clearance tape, and then reassemble and head to the range. Here we are the next day after our drop-in stock installation. I told you we'd need to let that epoxy cure overnight. It's overnight. Now we're going to dismantle and clean it up and see how it looks. Now the barreled action, sometimes these can be stubborn to get out because the epoxy cures obviously all around that recoil lug. So grab your forend, wiggle a little bit, and in some cases you may need to take a little bit of a mallet, hang on to your stock, and give the barrel a slight wrap. Okay, we can see it's coming out of there. All right. Take a look at your job. The tape typically will end up staying in the inletting area. So remember, we taped that recoil up. We're going to remove the tape from the barrel to action. Right where the guard screw comes through, a little bit of the resin run back through there. I'm going to take a drill and drill that out so that I have a clearance hole there. Some clearance. A little bit, the resin ran over there. That's why we always put some release agent on the guard screw, just in case you have a little run up. Slide your stock on there. That tape left a nice amount of clearance. And now what we're going to do is assemble the rifle. So we're going to take our mag box, put that in place, take the stock again, set it on, seat it, take your trigger guard assembly, put it in there. We'll take our guard screws, there it goes, and we have it. Okay, put our trigger, we'll put our spring and follower in here. Look at that, make sure everything's in there. Take the bolt, put the bolt back in, and there you have one drop-in stock installation with the Bansner & Company synthetic stock. So there it is. Hopefully that was helpful to you. Hopefully you learned something from that. If you have any questions or something else you'd like to see, write a comment, drop us an email, or give us a call. Thanks for watching.